Today, I want to talk about dealership lead management as it pertains to your website. So we're going to talk a little bit about how leads come in from your website and the different ways you collect those, and then the best ways to follow up with those and set procedures for your sales staff. So just a couple of quick key takeaways there. Again, we're going to understand what website leads are, how they get to you, how to follow up, and then sales staff procedures. So first of all, let's talk about what website leads are. We'll start with forms. These are the most common type of website lead that most people think of. So that's a form is anything that's going to collect information and send it to you so you can follow up. And those can be from request a quote forms on inventory pages. They can be parts and service requests, and they can even be general contact forms that you might have on your website for anybody just reaching out with a general question. You also have click to call, and this is a very popular follow-up on mobile devices. And so most mobile websites have a click to call that you can just punch a button and you're able to call the dealership immediately. You can do that from either the header on the website in most cases, and oftentimes you'll have a separate follow-up for that on pages like the equipment inventory, like you see here on this bottom picture. So they find a piece of equipment that they're interested in, and they can immediately hit that button to call and ask about it. You also have click to email, and this happens a couple of different ways. So one of them is an email address that you add to your location, like you see here. And so you give a general contact email that people can reach out to the dealership. There's also a thing to be aware of on most modern browsers. So we're talking about Google Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge, Firefox. They are going to read an email address and make it clickable, meaning if you put an email address anywhere on your website, even if you don't necessarily mean for it to be clickable, those browsers will turn it into a hyperlink, which means people will click it and it'll open up whatever email they use, be it Gmail or Outlook, what have you, to be able to send you an email. So be aware of that if you're sharing your email address on your website. And then there's live chat or chat bots, and there's a couple of different iterations of these, and I want to go over all of them. So the first and the most simple is you have a pop-up on the corner of your website, like you see here, and a customer can type in their question, and someone at your dealership is manning this live, and they can respond back to that person directly through the chat bot on their computer, or directly through the chat on their computer, rather. There's also a method where customers can ask questions on the website, and it will text someone at the dealership. You see this if you use Connect, which is the Kubota preferred chat vendor. They have a way to text dealers' phones so that you can answer via text message. And then lastly, there's chatbots. And these aren't actually real people. This is a mix of artificial intelligence or AI and a frequently asked question that you complete so that the chatbot knows where to send people's questions to, or where to send them to for questions that they ask. So a quick example of that is maybe someone has a question about how to request parts from the dealership. And so they ask, and the chatbot recognizes that and sends them to the parts request page on your site and says, oh, I can help you with that. Let's take you right here. So that's a little bit of how that works. So just a really quick recap on how leads are generated from your site. You have click to call in both the header and equipment inventory pages that pertain to mobile devices. You can click either a button or hyperlinked text to email a dealership. People can send forms, and these can be placed on multiple pages throughout the site, like the equipment showroom, to request service and parts, things like that. And a quick tip on this, if you are building a new landing page for a marketing campaign, like you have a special offer that you really want to show off to people, make sure you have at least one of these methods for people to contact you, because you don't want to just give them information and leave them be. You've got their attention, so make sure you have a call to action on that page so that they have a way to contact you and you can move them closer to a sale. And then lastly, you can engage the chat function, which either will text or chat someone at the dealership or engage a chatbot. So let's talk about following up with leads. So it's really important on how you follow up with leads. So users often leave an email address or a phone number or both whenever they're sending in a form or an email, or they've left a voicemail, the dealership, if they weren't able to get someone. So the very first way you should try to respond to these leads when they come in is a phone call, because you've basically opened a forum and that customer can ask you all kinds of questions. You can in turn schedule a demo with them, or you can schedule them a trip to your dealership. You can talk about financing options. If you have current specials or a package deal that you're offering, you can talk to them about it all right there on the spot. You have an audience. But if you're not able to call immediately, maybe it's the very end of the day and you just don't have time to finish up, you got to run. Then make sure you send a personal email and you still get the conversation going, and then you can sort of assess what their needs are and even schedule a follow-up time to make them feel like they've been served. So just to talk about what a personal email is, most websites, including TracTru dealer sites, send a confirmation email once someone submits a form. So if a customer sends a form from their website to you, they get an email that says, "Thank you so much for your inquiry. We'll get back to you soon." And that's great. But make sure you also follow up with that personal email so that they feel, like you've got that really great customer service and they feel like they've been attended to. There's a great sort of other thing that comes along with collecting these email addresses, and it is that you can use them for mailing lists on future promotions, things like that. You can put them into your customer relations manager or CRM. We're going to talk about a little bit more later. And then you can send people emails on sales that you're about to have. You can send them coupons. You can send them invitations to field events or demo days or an open house that you're having at your dealership. And to do that, you want to make sure you add just a little short opt-in message on the bottom of your forms. This can be like a checkbox that says something to the effect of, by checking this, I opt into future communications from this dealer. And then make sure that your privacy policy on your website is updated to show how you're collecting or what you're using the information you collect from people to do. And just as a quick side note, if you have a TracTru website, you have a privacy policy built in. But if you don't have a TracTru website, make sure you have a privacy policy today. Because if you're collecting anything from people on your website, you want to make sure this is in place. To make sure you're abiding by all laws and to make sure that Google is that makes Google happy whenever you have a privacy policy. So you don't want that to negatively affect your rankings if you're missing that. And then if you're using an online chat, you need to make sure to have at least one person dedicated to answering it during your business hours. It doesn't have to be the same person. They don't have to spend an entire shift just sitting at a computer waiting for someone to respond. But just make sure someone is taking a look at that, because people, if they are engaging with the chat, they want an immediate response. We're talking 30 seconds or less. And so make sure someone's always looking at that during business hours. And you might even have a lot of these have a feature built in where if you have business hours, those chat will be on and it will disengage after hours and let people know, like, hey, just leave an inquiry and we'll get back to you during our normal business hours. So even more important than how you follow up is when you follow up. So I want to talk a little bit about this MIT study on lead response that they did over 3 years and it included over 100,000 different lead call attempts. So based on this study, the odds of contacting a lead they found to decrease 10 times in the first hour after receiving the lead. So if you are over the hour mark, you're losing 10 times the amount of probability that they're actually going to respond to you. You're 100 times more likely to move a lead into the qualified sales process if you follow up within 5 minutes versus 30 minutes. So basically, the longer it takes you to follow up, the less likely you are to make contact and to move that person from just an inquiry into a true sales lead. And then after 20 hours, so almost a full day, every additional call your salespeople have to make to try to make contact actually hurts your ability to contact that lead. So that means if you're waiting longer than a day to respond, then that lead is probably not going to answer you back when you try to follow up. This is really crucial on days that dealerships are closed. Like a lot of dealerships are closed on Sundays. So you want to make sure you have time blocked off on Monday morning to really follow up with these folks that have reached out over the weekend and make sure that they have someone they know that is attending to their needs. The study also found that earlier in the morning, so 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. local time, and then later in the afternoon, like 4 to 5 local time, are the best times to follow up with calls. So if you get a call and you're not able to follow up right away, then you might be better served using that last hour of the day, like 4 to 5, to follow up really quickly, or first thing in the morning when you get in. So what does all this mean? What can we take away from this? So when you receive a lead and it requires follow-up from the dealership, so it's a form or an email they've sent or they've left a voicemail, then make sure you contact the customer within 30 minutes because they're 21 times more likely to enter into the sales process and become a qualified lead. So think about Domino's. Domino's has a promise that they're going to deliver your food within 30 minutes or less or it's free. So that's what you want to think about when it comes to a lead. You want to make sure that they're getting the best customer service experience possible, and they're really going to feel that if you can get to them within 30 minutes. If you fail to follow up within 24 hours, it can have a negative impact. They could be filling out leads across a bunch of different websites, and it's sort of a race to whoever gets back to them first. You don't want your competitors to beat you there. So make sure that you get back to people within 24 hours, or else it's going to have a negative impact, and they're a lot less likely to take your call. And then all of this stuff is really easy to keep up with if you create a system to organize these leads and to make sure that you're contacting them so that your sales staff can meet customer expectations. So let's talk a little bit more about that, how to implement best practices with your sales staff. So like I said, you want to use a system with your sales staff to manage and track all of these incoming leads. And I will say right now, Post-it notes are not the answer. Post-it notes are made out of a very losable size. They're all really small. It just takes a gentle breeze to blow one of those things in the wind and to who knows where. They're really easy to lose it when you pile stuff up on a desk. And so you want to find something that's a lot easier to pass around. If it has to be something physical, maybe you get like a ticket book. It's even better if you can get something online like a spreadsheet or a couple of the different things that we're going to talk about, including the lead management tool that we have on our TracTru Kubota sites. So we have this free tool that's available to everyone called the lead management tool, and it basically pulls in all of the data from the forms on your site automatically, and it also has the ability for folks to add phone calls for sales and walk-in data for people that walked in our potential sale. And then you can assign this to your sales staff. They can make notes on each individual lead. And so if someone prefers to be contacted by phone, you can put that there, or any pertinent information that you might need when you're following up with them that, just easy to remember. It's all in one place. Whatever device you use to log into the back end of the website, it's right there. And then you can also update the status so your sales managers can keep up with how things are going. So do we have a lot of leads that are kind of further in the funnel? Do we close a lot of leads? Do we have some that are old that we kind of need to sunset because they're not responding? And we want to spend our time, following up with the ones that are talking to us more regularly. So that's a really great and, again, free tool that's included with our Kubota digital websites from TracTru. Another great solution is a CRM, or a customer relationship manager. And that pulls a lot more information. It's usually an upgrade. It's not necessarily a free program, but that's going to pull information not just from forms, but also from phone calls. You can hook up an app on mobile phones that will add those calls to your leads. You can even collect information from social media. So if someone sends a direct message on Twitter or a Facebook message, that can be added. Same thing with chat bots and live chat and even more things. And that pulls everything into your CRM, and you're able to see a profile for each lead you have. You can track their status and what the equipment that they've been looking at, all the accessories you've recommended, and then it has a really great visual of all the touch points you've ever had with that customer. So if it's been, if they said, let me think about it, and it's been 4 or 5 days, you can see that right there, and I sent them a text a few days ago, I'll send another one just to see where they're at. And then you can take all that information also and build custom email campaigns. And so a lot of people use external things like MailChimp or Constant Contact or Second Street to send emails, but you can do all of this from a CRM, and you can get really targeted with who you want to send these to and the message that you want to send to them. So if it's been, let's say, 6 months, and you always want to send an automatic follow-up to someone 6 months after a sale that says, hey, I hope you're enjoying whatever you bought from us. Would you be interested in checking out our extended warranties or our service plans, or is there any implement or attachment you need to better complete the job that you're working on? Things like that can all be done from this system, and then sales managers can use the data from there to really figure out what your close rate is, and to figure out how to remarket to these people to keep them engaged with your dealership. And then you want to make sure that the customer experience that you have is uniform. So you kind of want to treat every person at the dealership that talks to customers as salespeople. And so I'm including here sales staff and then what I call high touch point staff. So these are the people that are the very first person that customers see when they walk in the dealership. Maybe you have like a reception desk, or if you have someone answering your phones regularly, those people are included as well. And you want to make sure that everyone that's in this process is involved in how they collect and distribute leads. Because again, you don't want to just write things on a post-it note and you put it on salesman Bob's desk and you hope that Bob sees it and doesn't just bury it with a bunch of stuff when he comes in off the lot or something like that. Um, so you also want to create easy to remember scripts for phone calls that give customers all the necessary information up front. I think we all have stories of calling a business and they just answer with hello and that's it. And you wonder, did I call a business or is this a wrong number? What is this? And so you want to give them, things that make them feel welcome and things that let them know that they've called the right place, like your dealership name. So it doesn't have to be anything over the top, but just make sure that if someone's answering the phone at your dealership, that they're hitting those points. And like I said, easy to remember script like dealership name, how are you doing, or we're having a great day here at Grapevine Tractor and Equipment, whatever it may be. And then lastly, you want to make sure to educate all staff to offer alternatives if the product a customer is asking about is not available. And so this could be something that's been on back order or something that's not in stock right now, or maybe they have a piece of equipment they were looking at, like a skid steer, and it's like, well, what are your needs? And maybe something with a higher or lower horsepower is actually more what they needed in the first place. You don't want to just send them, tell them no and send them out the door. You want to make sure that you have those alternatives and you have a way to follow up with them if something's on back order or just you don't have it in stock right this second. And then don't just treat the sell as the end point. They're your customer, you have won them over and they've purchased something from you. Do things that keep them your customer. And so, like I mentioned previously, you can utilize forms on your website and emails that your sales staff has been sent to create mailing lists, and then you can send people future promotions. Maybe you have a special offer coming up or a package deal that you really want to push. If you're waiting on some inventory, then you can keep a waiting list there and send a quick inventory notification saying, hey, we've got 5 BX 1880s coming to the lot in the next week. You come in today and get your name on the list. You can send them invites to field events later on, things like that. If you have a TracTru website, you actually have a free email marketing service built in. It's called Current, and you can upload your mailing list there, and then you can send some kind of simple branded emails to your subscribers. So if you have something like a mailing list that you want to send for an open house, or like I said, a coupon, something like that, you can do that, and it's free. I know that MailChimp and Constant Contact, places like that, they usually charge per email, but it's included with the Kubota sites from TracTru. There's also a CRM that we offer called Cultivate, and again, it allows you to collect leads from not just your site, but also that your salespeople can enter in from their phone or from social media, things like that. And then you can also build completely custom emails there that you can send out either on a schedule, like the ones, for instance, the emails that were the invites for this exact webinar were sent from Cultivate. Or you can send out something automated so that like 3 months after a sale, you're just checking in and maybe having them leave a review for the dealership, that kind of thing. You can completely automate that process using a CRM. And then again, the whole point of having everything in one spot is so you can see that data and you can recognize like, oh, we really need to do a better job of following up with people, or we have some people that talk to us about equipment, but we haven't heard from them in a while. Maybe we send them some sort of promotion. So that's a really fantastic way to keep track of everything.